see what happened to Rylan or Cameron happen to anyone.
Tonight, the final part of my three-part investigative series into the Tulsa boys' home and DHS after Cameron and Rylan ran off from the facility last year and died 9 months apart.
Now an investigation by the Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth is underway. Meanwhile, a lawsuit is in the works against the Tulsa boys' home and DHS.
Over the past couple of nights, we have heard from the Tulsa boys' home, DHS, and the lawyer representing the family of Rylan. Blame over the deaths of Cameron and Rylan has been all over the place. While Rylan's family feels like the Tulsa boys' home and DHS are responsible, both agencies say the blame is not on them. Tonight, hope is on the horizon. We turn to an Oklahoma child advocate and a state lawmaker who are both committed to making facilities like the Tulsa boys' home safer statewide.
They've got to come up with a better system on making sure these kids do not have the ability to leave the facility, because it's not fair for the facility to be judged like that when they can't do what they need to do under the law. It's not fair for law enforcement to be pulled away from other cases to deal with a recurring problem.
In 2019, Tulsa County deputies were called to the Tulsa boys' home 101 times after a boy ran away from the facility. Last year, they responded to 226 runaway reports.
It's harder to keep track of these kids. It's harder to maintain a system to ensure that these kids are in the facility and safe and secure and not essentially running wild.
Joe Dorman with the Oklahoma Institute for Child Advocacy explains current state law makes it difficult for facilities like the Tulsa boys' home to prevent kids from running away. The staff is not able to restrain a child unless they're considered a danger to themselves or a danger to others, and they're not allowed under their level of care to be a lockdown facility, essentially giving them the only option to advise kids of the dangers of leaving, and that once they leave, they will be reported to law enforcement.
Some of these kids, there's no way they should be out on the streets running wild by themselves with the staff and the facilities not able to keep control of them. It doesn't make any sense that a child who is dealing with severe trauma and mental issues would have the ability to leave a facility.
And you see how it's continued to increase. This is not good.
Just as concerned as Joe is Oklahoma State Rep J.D. Nolan. The Tulsa boys' home is in her district.
I don't know that I can say any one person is to blame here. Collectively, we need to look at this and tighten it up in a way that's going to better protect our kids.
Nolan tells me she wishes she knew about the runaway reports in recent years and the safety concerns the Tulsa boys' home was facing before the deaths of Cameron Dale and Rylan Harris.
I do wish that I had understood this revolving door, how easy it is for them just to leave in the middle of the night. I didn't realize, and I don't think most people realize that that's the case. I do wish that had been communicated to me, because I would have been very concerned about it right off the bat.
Nolan tells me she's already had conversations with the Tulsa boys' home and with DHS about working together to find solutions moving forward, and whether that's a change in policy or a change in state law. She is committed to making these types of facilities statewide safer for children.
I think we do have to have answers. I do think that that's the part that we need to drill down on to try to prevent this from happening in the future, and I'm not sure what that looks like yet. So I hope that we move forward quickly so that nothing else does happen.
And while conversations are taking place to prevent another death, a lawsuit against Greg Conway, executive director of the Tulsa boys' home, and DHS is in the works right now in an effort to prove that both failed 13-year-old Rylan Harris.
Until the report is finalized and we know where the blame should be placed, obviously there need to be protocols put in place to make sure that nothing happens until that report is filed. But until we know after the investigation, you can't place the blame.
It is unclear how long the death investigation by the Oklahoma Commission on Children and Youth will take. Spradling tells me his litigation letter to the Tulsa boys' home and DHS will be mailed on Monday. The Tulsa County Sheriff's Office tells me they've responded so far to 16 runaway calls at the Tulsa boys' home since the start of my investigation on January 1st. Since my interview, DHS tells me in a written statement, we are continually evaluating the entirety of the child welfare system, including ensuring that children and youth who enter the child welfare system are properly evaluated and have the appropriate level of care and placement available to meet their needs. There is so much to this story on who failed Cameron and Rylan. We have put together a 30-minute special documentary with the entire story from start to finish. You can actually watch that right now by clicking on newson6.com, our News on 6 app, or by opening our app on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV. And again, this series was focused on policy, procedure, state law, and safety. No doubt, the more than 300 staff members right now and thousands of volunteers have made a positive impact on nearly 14,000 boys over the past 103 years at the Tulsa Boys Home. I also, if I may, just want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank photojournalist Eric Voss for his commitment to this piece over the past 4 months.